Welcome to the HR Happy Hour Work Break. You are here with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve Bose.
Hey, Trish. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fair to Midland?
Fair to Midland. That's good. That's not bad.
There's two appropriate answers to that question. There's fair to Midland, and the other answer is pretty good. And you?
Where did you learn that?
Somewhere in South Carolina, I think.
Oh, South Carolina. Okay. Well, good. Well, I'm glad that we're here. We have been talking nonstop today. We've been recording so many episodes of the HR Happy Hour podcast, but it's all fun, all worth it, and we've got some good stuff coming up. So
yeah, it's fun recording them, less fun editing them, I'll admit to you, but I will try to edit one of them tonight so we can run it tomorrow because it's kind of timely. We did a little bit of a look back and also a look forward, kind of like a lot of folks are doing. It's 1 year of COVID kind of here in the US, at least in a significant way, right? It was this week last year when the lockdowns and the closures kind of swept through the USA. And we did a show on this about a year ago today where we talked about what we thought might be happening. And it was kind of a fun thing to listen back to as well. And I give you credit, Trish. I won't give away the whole show, but I give you credit for being pretty prescient in early March last year about what 2020 was going to look like.
I'm sad that I was. I mean, yeah, I think that it was interesting that just to think that a year ago we didn't really know much at all, quite honestly, and still a lot of unknowns. We're going to talk a little bit about that on the show, but yeah, we knew almost nothing.
Well, it's a different set of unknowns, right? It's more unknowns around vaccines and getting back to what can you do safely and how long will it be until things can be kind of safe again. And the
overall impact for people who have had COVID and recovered, sort of ongoing. What are the ailments and symptoms that are ongoing and how long are those going to last? People just don't know these answers. So
yeah,
a lot of anxiety rising around all of those questions, but anyway, hopefully we'll lighten the mood here on the work break. We are, in fact, taking a work break. You know what? I wanted to ask you something. I saw that today is actually the anniversary of the first female pilot being licensed in 1910, Baroness Raymonde de la Roche.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if you knew, but I was really interested in it. I love when I hear sort of these dates come up because then I kind of dig in and research and like what happened.
Well, it is International Women's Day. We should have mentioned that too off the top. That is today.
It is. Yeah. And that's great that it happened on the same day with, her becoming a pilot.
Yeah.
Baroness becoming a pilot. No, I was looking into though, what is the percentage of female pilots? Because it's been a predominantly male profession over the years.
Sure.
But I think, when we were flying, I would see a fair number of female pilots. So I just was curious. Do you have any guess? This is U.S.
commercial pilots we're talking
about? Commercial pilots, yes. U.S. only.
Okay. What's the percentage?
What percentage are female?
I think it's getting more common, but I still think it's fairly low. I'm going to go 29%.
You would lose if you were on Card Sharks, my friend, because the number is 6.84%.
I might fly on more Enlightened Airlines because I would have definitely said higher. I did say higher. It definitely seemed to me higher when I was flying a lot.
I will put the caveat. These numbers were taken from 2018, but still not that long ago. So it may have risen
that much of a change in a couple of years.
It wouldn't have been significant. I can't imagine. But that's very sad to me that you have people who are either not going into the military to train because a lot of former military are commercial pilots, or that are just going on to study that and study aviation on their own. Now it broke it down. It was really interesting. This whole report and study went into, mechanics, for example. There's a rising number in female mechanics on things like, airplanes and helicopters and just in aviation in general. So that's good. But yes, out of, again, 2018, 633,000 men roughly versus 46.4 thousand women.
Wow. That's interesting. That's a really good data point. I like that. I like that. I was trying to dig into one not too long ago on bank tellers because I got in a conversation with someone on the phone that when ATMs became a widespread technology, at least here in the US, right? back in the 80s, probably they started to become more prevalent. There was definitely a thought that it was going to largely eliminate that function, that role of bank tellers, but it turns out it didn't, at least not right away. And I was trying to get updated data about what has happened to the number of bank tellers in the United States, sort of pre-ATMs and now up to today. And it was difficult to find like more recent data. So I'm still digging into it a little bit, but my suspicion is there are more bank tellers. We might call them different names maybe today, but I think there are more actually than there were before ATMs rolled out, because they do different things. They do more value added things. And when people go into banks today, they, for the most part, don't go into withdraw $100 in cash, right? They're doing other types of transactions that could be investing, financial planning, loan products, et cetera, et cetera. So there are still lots of people working in banks, maybe not quite as many as before, but I'm going to dig into that. I'm going to figure that out and report back, Trish. I'm interested.
Yeah, I will tell you, I would be
how
interested.
boring it is around here on the weekend. I spent part of my Saturday on that.
Did you know I was a bank teller for many years?
I have heard that.
Yeah, I was. I worked for a couple banks actually while I was in college. That was my college job when I was, doing more part-time. And then after I graduated college, that was actually still my job. So I became a full-time. I went from the drive-through bank teller to kind of getting promoted, if you will, into a bank teller. Then I was a teller supervisor. So I was over all of the bank tellers. That was for Bank of America, actually. And I also worked at UMB Bank first when I was first getting into it. But I will tell you, the job that I wound up having at the end of my bank career was I was the vault teller. And that was a very cool job. But I will tell you what, I was scared. Did you get to
spin that big vault lock and open it up and do all that?
Yeah. Yes. And you're one of the very few people that have all the codes, right? And so all the combinations. So it's a really scary job because we had to watch these movies, and I hadn't thought about this in years. I'm going to tell you why. We watched these movies about what will happen if someone not just robs the bank, but like comes in and takes over the bank, like jumping over the counters.
Little Dog Day Afternoon scenario.
So I just watched this movie this weekend called The Town. Have you seen that? This is sort of true. It's Ben Affleck, Jeremy Renner. It's amazing. I recommend it highly. I don't know why I hadn't even seen it or heard of it. The Town. It's a few years old, but there's this town where back in the day there were bank robbers, and then they grew up and they taught the trade to their children, and they kind of passed on this robbery theme. It's a movie where they're the kind of bank robbers that come over the top of the counter with the machine guns and everything else.
Like in Point Break.
Right. And who do they go after first? Who do they want to talk to?
The vault teller, Trish. I'm guessing you led me right into that answer. The vault teller, right?
The vault teller.
Of course.
This poor girl, like I was almost having a panic attack watching the movie, just thinking about this job I did 20 some odd years ago, right? Because I can remember it being like Saturday morning and I'm going to like get the money out or whatever and open it for everybody else. And
you put the exploding die in the bags full of money if someone were to rob you. Is that true? Is that a thing?
That is true. That's a true. But you know what? Back then when I was a teller, I would say most bank robbers didn't know that yet because that was really pretty new technology.
Yeah, pre-Twitter.
So,
we didn't really.
As the years went on, before I got out of it, yes, the word on the street was that they would tell you don't put the die packs in. We were honestly fearful that the die pack would explode before they got out of the bank, and it was supposed to do it when they crossed the threshold of the bank door. That's what tripped the, so that the timer would then start and it would explode somewhere outside. But we were always nervous, like, God, what if you give it to them and then it happens right there. So anyway, I loved being a bank teller. It's a great job. And I will tell you this too, if you're in college or you have like teenagers getting ready to go and get a first job, have them be a bank teller. It's such a professional job and you learn a lot and you get to deal with all kinds of business people that are customers. So really good. Plug for bank tellers.
Shout out bank tellers. I'm for it too.
Bank tellers. So anyway, well, listen, we've spent our whole time talking about this. So I'd say now it's time to get back to work. So thank you everyone for watching, listening, being with us every single day. And be sure and tune in on the HR Happy Hour Podcast Network on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We've got some.
Call me up. I'll read the podcast to you.
Would you do that?
I would do that.
Personal readings with Steve Bose. I love it.
Try and get the number.
There you go. You could Gmail him or something. All right. Thanks, everyone. And we'll catch you back here tomorrow.